have company today. Oh, so we're sitting on the floor today. We're keeping it casual. This video is very much going to be for the millennials, the 80s kids, the 90s kids. I'm wearing my Lisa Frank bats in honor of that, and that it's almost Halloween. Now, the Labubu craze of this past summer will not be an unfamiliar sensation to those of us who grew up with the toy crazes of the 80s and 90s, starting in 1982 with the release of Cabbage Patch Kids, and picking up steam in the 90s with Beanie Babies, which were first introduced in 1993, manufactured in 1994, but didn't really start to pick up steam until the mid to late 90s, around 1996, when other toy crazes also picked up. 1996 was the introduction of Tickle Me Elmo, Pokemon, Tamagotchi was first released in Japan in late 1996, and in the US in early 1997. Nano Pets were released in 1997, and also I could not find much information about Nano Pets other than that they came out in 1997, but there's like almost no information out there about them, which makes me sad as someone who loved her Nano puppy very much. 1998 is the year the world was introduced to the craze of interactive pets thanks to Tiger Electronics and their toy, Furby. Now, of course, these aren't actual Furbies, these are some old McDonald's Furbies I recently found in a box of old stuff. A Furb in the hand is worth two in the hand. Furbies were released on the market on October 2nd, 1998. 2 days before my 5th birthday. Furby took off pretty quickly. It was everywhere. They ended up making Furby babies and a whole other line of other interactive toys. There was also a movie that was actually a pilot for a Furby series that was released on Nickelodeon, which I only learned about from Saber Sparks' video about it. I don't remember ever seeing this on TV as a kid. And Furby has definitely had some staying power and a bit of a renaissance in recent years, especially with the advent of Long Furby, which Hasbro, the current owners of Furby, have run with and are actually manufacturing their own Long Furbies. I also saw someone on Etsy selling a shrimp Furby. Following the success of its launch, there were several spin-offs and rip-offs of Furby. From Furby's parent company, Tiger Electronics, came Poo-chi on April 1st, 2000, a robot dog that was interactive. It came with a little bone you could give it. I had the blue one. In 2001, they also introduced Shelby as part of the Furby line, which were just very similar to Furby, but a shell-shaped creature. And when I was a kid, I used to keep my toys on my bed for whatever reason. I don't know if this is something all kids do, because my little brother also has done this, but I would just have, especially my favorite toys, were all on my bed, and I just had a little hollowed out part for me to lay down and curl up, in a crescent shape around me were just toys when I slept. And I remember my Shelby would just somehow ended up at the foot of my bed, and I would kick it in my sleep, which would wake it up, which would then wake me up when it would start yelling at me, because Shelbies were kind of more aggressive than Furbies, at least from what I remember. Furbies were kind of silly, whoa! But Shelbies just got mad really easily. They were, I guess, because they were in shells, they were crabby? Sorry. So Tiger Electronics discontinued both Poo-chi and Shelby in 2002, which was when they released FurReal Friends. Here's my FurReal friend. FurReal Friends were released in 2002 by Tiger Electronics, and the first model they released was simply called Cat. There were 3 color variants, as I remember. I had the orange cat and the black and white one, and these were produced with the idea of giving kids a taste of what it's like to have a pet of their own without the responsibilities necessarily of it cleaning up after them, feeding them, taking them to the vet, etc. Unlike this one, FurReal Friends would not get heartworm. Yeah, it's okay, you don't have heartworm anymore. Now you're so happy and healthy. Oh, she's so beautiful. Do you see yourself on the camera? Look, that's Willow. And FurReal Friends are going strong to this day. I actually, when I was just looking up some quick facts about it before recording this, I saw one of the new models that looks like it was released this year, which is of a cow. A baby cow named Maggie, and I love her and I want her. So that's what I'm asking Santa for this Christmas. So FurReal Friends has since expanded their line to include a lot more animals other than typical domestic pets like cats and dogs. But there is one toy line that follows in the vein of Furby and other interactive pet-style toys that I, for years, could not remember the name of, and it drove me crazy. It was like the big mystery of my life. Since I was a preteen, teen, have been trying to remember what this toy was called, and I could remember what it looked like, I could remember the commercial, the concept, I just could not remember the name. And you would think with all that information, I'd just be able to Google it and find it, but I've tried many times over the years. It was like 15 to 20 years of searching, trying to find this thing, and no luck. So recently, I turned to the very 2025 way of looking things up, ChatGPT, and I actually had planned to make a video about this toy, kind of as a plea to be like, does anyone remember what this is called? And I had this drawing I had kept of what I remember it looking like, that I just put down because I'm like, I'm going to start showing this to people and be like, does anyone know what the heck this is? So I put in my description to ChatGPT, was telling it like what I remembered of the commercial and my drawing of the toy. It was like, help me find this. And even ChatGPT struggled. So clearly this toy had a very limited release and just difficult to track down. It ended up bringing me to a Reddit post, and it was someone on the Tip of My Tongue subreddit looking for a different toy that had a very similar description, and it ended up being something else, I can't remember what, but I scrolled through hoping that someone in those replies would have suggested the toy I was looking for, and lo and behold, someone had responded with Ooglies. I clicked the link, and there it was. This toy I've been looking for 15, 20 years.
Look out for the craziest thing the world's ever seen. Ooglies. They giggle. They talk. They're hysterical. Pull their tails and tickle their feet to drive them crazy. One tickle is all it takes with an ooglie from Playmates.
Now, Ooglies were released in 1999 by Playmates Toys, and as of today, as of 2025, Playmates is still around, but really only producing licensed toys like Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Winx Club, Miraculous Ladybug, and not really any original toys, but Ooglies was one such original toy. So I can't even find if Ooglies originated in the US. They seem to have had a pretty wide release both in the US and Europe. When I was looking on eBay for an Ooglie of my own, I came across a number of Italian Ooglies. So I had promised myself years ago that if I ever solved this lifelong mystery I've been trying to solve, that I would go on eBay and look for this toy and buy one, so I will never forget it again. And a couple days after, went on eBay and ordered one. They actually released mini Ooglies, which were keychains. So, real quick, I'll show you my unboxing of my Ooglie. Mail time! Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me wanna wag my tail. I'm not the only one wagging my tail over mail. Here she is. Oh my gosh. Okay. Moment of truth to see if it still works. So it looks like, so it's still on card, but it looks like it's actually been taken out. It's actually really like dirty and worn. Like this package is really beat up. It didn't look like this on the eBay listing, but it was so cheap I don't really care that much. I'm just happy to see this again. So we got Swandrea. Pull my tail, my eyes light up, and I make my own crazy, wacky, out-of-control sounds. Mini Ooglies, a ridiculous race of riotous rascals. This was one of the mini ones that was introduced later on in the line. Let's see if she still works. Oh my gosh, I remember that! Okay, so this wasn't like, I thought it had been on card and just could kind of put back on, but it's not. So, I'm going to break the seal. For the first time, this was manufactured in 2000. They made the mini Ooglies. So, you wouldn't know from how dirty she is, but Swandrea here is going to see the light of day and fresh air for the first time in 25 years. Oh, it's just... she's not coming out that way. Go, instruction packet. And she is. Yeah, I'll clean her up a little. She's a little dirty. Seen better days, but she's also probably gonna end up living on my purse, at least for a little bit. This is my Labubu. Very pleased to have this again. This little swan tail. That's one. Yes, folks, here is my pal, Swandrea. So majestic. The chain is stuck on her tail. Say hello to everyone, Swandrea. Say hello, Swandrea. It's hard to do this with one hand. Hello. Oh, wow. I said say hello. She said hello. My drawing was not super correct, but it was really close. I got the colors inverse. I was thinking the body was purple and the tutu and ballet shoes were pink. And I also drew it having an antenna, even though I had a thought of, I think it had hair, but I thought I was mixing it up with Furby. So I was like, it must be an antenna. So I drew it with an antenna, but it did have hair. I also thought for some reason the eyes lit up in shapes, but I think I was thinking of poo-chi, which I remembered having that, but I guess I conflated the two and thought Ooglies also had that. While it never outright said on the packaging or commercials that Ooglies were meant to be aliens, the concept of Ooglies is that they came from outer space to Earth and took on different attributes of certain careers or just creatures and objects on Earth in order to blend in. So you have Swandrea, who is a ballerina. There is a cowboy one whose name I can't remember right now. There was one that was meant to be a cow called Moo, which I kind of want to get as well because it's adorable. There was Gridiron, who was a football. There was a whole line of sport ball Ooglies, a soccer ball, a baseball, etc. And I had only remembered there being about 3 to 5 variants. There were actually many variants. It was interesting to find them all as I was looking this up. And they're just aliens from space that are very giggly and gassy and say a lot of wacky things. Just toilet humor, ugliness, cuteness, all in one package. This, friends, is my Labubu. So the mini Ooglies were released in 2000, just a easy to carry around Oogly. The original Ooglies were basically the size of a Furby, like I said, just very clearly meant to be a ripoff of Furbies. I can't find when they were discontinued, so I'm assuming the mini Ooglies were the last things they produced from this line, so I think it really only had a good year, much like Shelby. It's a new day.
Yes, it is!
So, as you can probably tell, I just woke up, hence my unwashed face, jammies. I brushed my hair, but it's looking pretty crazy. But I recorded most of that video yesterday, edited it last night, and was just pulling some images and some last minute things I needed to finalize editing, and realized there were some things I forgot to mention. I never specified the reason Swandrea was the one that I got and was kind of focusing on in this video, which is that that's the one that I had when I was a kid. And actually something that I thought I got wrong about it, but I didn't, their eyes did light up in shapes and stuff. And were red or green, depending on like mood and stuff. But that was on the full-sized Ooglies, the mini ones didn't do that. So I want to kind of talk about some of just the details of the full-sized Ooglies. So they had different like sayings on the back, different taglines for the different variants. So for Swandrea, on the full-sized Oogly, it said, "If you love ballet and music, I'm an Oogly you've got to meet. I love to show off all my moves, no matter what the beat." And her Earth entry date was June 11th, 1999, and her Oogly tail tune is Frere Jacques. In addition to being able to pull their tail and it made different like fun noises, you could pat their heads and it would be like a fortune-telling thing. You could ask it a question and it would say, "Totally, I'm sure," and "No way," to kind of, you could use it like a Magic 8 Ball, I guess. Which I do vaguely remember doing as a kid, but it wasn't really like the main detail of Ooglies that I remembered. And they are also very ticklish. That's kind of like a big thing with the Ooglies, is that they love to be tickled. It says, "Tickle my feet. It's eye-spinning laughter. The more you tickle, the more I laugh. My eyes light up, spin, and change colors as I shake about uncontrollably." Which I'm surprised I didn't mention that, because the whole, like, the way it, like, vibrated, moved around was one of the things I distinctly remembered from when I was a kid. And actually, like, the tickle thing is very key to the whole Ooglies line, with how giggly and stuff they are, but there's one called Chicken Tickle. That's just the name of this Oogly, is Chicken Tickle. But also, I am thinking, after just quickly looking into this stuff, and some other things that I couldn't really find like follow-up details on earlier, I kind of want to do a follow-up video on like Ooglies and the history of Ooglies, because one of the images I found is for packaging for a Swandrea, but she looks not completely different, but has giant lips. Again, some of the like European ones, the packaging kind of said some different things. I think they released different versions in different countries or different continents, different markets. There's just, I don't know, I feel like there are a lot more mysteries to be uncovered when it comes to Ooglies. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick and provide some of those kind of important details I wanted to discuss and forgot. So instead of my video showing my picture and trying to describe this thing and my plea for help to find what the heck this toy is, I found it myself, well, thanks to ChatGPT and Reddit, but I discovered it, and now instead I'm making a video to say, hey, do you remember Ooglies? So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Honestly, I've been super burnt out lately. I have ideas for kind of more of the content I usually make, the longer form deep dives into video games and movies and such. I have one I've been working on since July. I think once I can finally just like get it all together, it's going to be really fun. But I'm burnt out. I'm tired. Life's just been a lot recently, and I kind of needed to just do something a bit more simple, lighthearted fun, and just, again, be casual, sit on the floor, have the dogs interrupt. Did you have an Oogly, or is there another interactive toy that I didn't bring up that you just want to gush over, have like a nice nostalgia, feel good talking about? There's another word I'm trying to think of, but I can't right now because I am tired. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Oh wait, Swandrea, do you have a goodbye for everyone? Probably not. Bye. Growing up with the toy crazes of the 80s and 90s. FurReal Friends were introduced in 2002 by Tiger Electronics, and every time I say FurReal Friends, she's like, me? I'm a FurReal friend.